All right, let's pick up exactly where we left off in our last explainer. We know the Automatic Identification System, or AIS, organizes thousands of ships on the water without crashing their radio signals. But what exactly is it broadcasting out into the ether? And honestly, more importantly, when should you absolutely not trust it?
Just to briefly recap, SOTDMA is the absolute magic preventing radio chaos out there. Without any central controller on the shore, ships just automatically take turns broadcasting on a shared channel. It autonomously handles a staggering 4,500 reports every single minute. For high-speed vessels, it's updating as fast as every 2 seconds.
You can think of AIS kind of like the ultimate automated group chat. Every ship is constantly updating its location, its name tag, and its travel plans, and no one is typing a single thing. Take the Singapore Strait, for example. It is one of the busiest waterways on Earth, with hundreds of vessels transiting daily. Without AIS, a bridge team relying just on radar would be staring at a screen full of anonymous blips. AIS instantly turns that crowded, chaotic waterway into a fully organized, named picture.
In practice, this completely revolutionizes bridge communication. Instead of blindly calling out on the VHF radio to, the ship off my port bow and just crossing your fingers that the right person answers, a simple hover over a target reveals its exact name, its course, speed, and call sign. It takes all the guesswork completely out of the equation.
So what is actually packed inside one of those automated pings? The anatomy of an AIS broadcast really breaks down into 3 distinct data buckets: static, dynamic, and voyage. And the key here is that each one serves a very specific purpose and updates in a completely different way.
The contrast in how this data is generated is absolutely crucial to understand. Static data is the who. That's hard-coded and fixed for the trip, things like your vessel's name, its dimensions, and its MMSI number. Dynamic data, on the other hand, is the where and how fast. That relies entirely on continuous automated sensor feeds. That's your GPS position and your speed over ground, refreshing constantly without a human ever lifting a finger.
But here's the real wild card, the third category, voyage data, or the going where. Things like destination, ETA, and the ship's draft. Those rely entirely on manual entry by the crew. And look, whenever you introduce manual data entry into a critical system, especially on a 3 a.m. watch, you introduce human error. Typos happen. Crews simply forget to update their draft after unloading cargo.
Let's actually put you on the bridge for a moment to see how this plays out in the real world. Say you are looking at a vessel approaching your position. Its AIS data claims an 8-meter draft. But you pick up your binoculars, and your own eyes see the vessel riding suspiciously high out of the water. It's sitting way lighter than 8 meters would ever suggest. So, which data source wins?
Well, the answer is neither wins automatically. You definitely don't just blindly trust the digital screen, but you also don't assume your eyes are perfect. You flag the discrepancy. You have to rely on independently verified data, like your radar range and bearing or direct visual observation, for your own maneuvering decisions. Remember, AIS data is only as accurate as whatever the other guy typed in. Treat the disagreement as a clue about the reliability of that vessel's reporting, not as gospel truth.
And it is definitely not just accidental typos or lazy manual entries we have to worry about out there. As a really fascinating cybersecurity study by Jan Bauer proved, AIS signals can be deliberately manipulated. In practical tests on a real-world ship bridge, researchers demonstrated what they called a striking flooding of AIS signals and successful GPS spoofing that literally shifted a vessel's perceived location entirely. Malicious actors can absolutely spoof signals to create ghost ships or mask real ones.
Here is another classic dilemma that tests this exact concept. What if a target's AIS broadcast says it's practically at a standstill, moving at just 0.2 knots, but your ARPA system, which is independently tracking the physical radar bounces pinging off that ship's hull, shows it steadily moving at 4 knots? What is your next move?
A highly skilled watchstander never just picks the more convenient reading and moves on. That disagreement itself is your actionable information. It is a massive, glowing red flag telling you to investigate immediately. It could mean the AIS data is just stale, maybe the sensor connection dropped, or worst case, something like spoofing is taking place. When independent systems disagree, your immediate job is to figure out why.
So let's pull all of this together. Radar detects the physical targets. AIS steps in to name them and share their intentions using those clever SOTDMA broadcasts. But because of those inherent vulnerabilities we just talked about, manual entry mistakes and cyber spoofing risks, your golden rule remains totally unchanged. You must constantly cross-check your AIS data against independent instruments.
All right, so how does this actually build into the broader modern bridge? Radar gives you the raw physical picture. AIS gives you the named data picture. But where do all of these independent sensor feeds, along with your GPS and your gyrocompass, actually get fused together into a single glowing digital map? That centralized digital hub is called the ECDIS.
In our next explainer, we are going to dive deep into the ECDIS, the incredibly complex system that has legally replaced physical paper charts entirely on modern vessels. But as we wrap up this deep dive into data reliability, I want to leave you with one final thought to ponder. If you are legally required to put all of your trust and all of your fused sensor data into one central digital display, how exactly do you navigate when that single screen goes dark?